So if you're interested in hearing how we bootstrapped a men's skincare subscription business to over $20 million a year that will be sold in 2.5 years from now for over $100 million, you are gonna love today's video. Today we're talking all about Tiege Hanley. I filmed this video yesterday that got way too long, and it was more like origin story, like me telling you how I met Robin Kelly and the chemist and how things actually happened, and it was just like, it was a lot. And so I thought for this first time that I'm actually telling you about Tiege Hanley, I want it to be a little bit higher level. Tell you some things that I want you to know, and then in future videos, we'll break down a little bit more in detail some of the things, some of the learning, some of the lessons that we've learned. Because honestly, Tiege Hanley is a bit of a unicorn when it comes to D2C businesses that have gotten to our level of sales. A few things I want to get out of the way up front, all right? I talked about with Pete and Pedro the fact that it's a lifestyle business, right? Where I build it in order to generate revenue, and it's going to be super profitable so that I can stick a few $1,000,000 in my pocket every year. Like, great, nothing wrong with that. I have no desire to sell it. I have no desire to offload it. If that happens in the future, great. Tiege Hanley, it was built to sell eventually to a strategic buyer. All right, when we started Tiege Hanley, there was no question about like, oh, well, maybe we can make a few $1,000,000 thinking of, It's how do we grow as fast as possible? How do we make it as valuable as possible so that we get acquired? We thought that we were gonna sell it in 5 years. When we met and said, okay, let's start this, like we thought in 5 years we'd be out, everything's good, we'd have millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and we'd be having money fights. That didn't happen. It normally doesn't happen that way. But we knew that we wanted to create basically a subscription service because subscription's super sexy, right? And the reason it's so sexy, as opposed to like a Pete and Pedro, every day, Pete and Pedro, I'm basically starting from zero, right? And then to get to $20,000 to $30,000, I gotta sell a lot of marketing, a lot of, all the things that you need to do in order to basically move the needle and sell, right? Every day you're starting from zero. Not with a subscription. All the people that you grew like last month are back this month, possibly. We'll talk a little bit later in this video about why you need to understand what the churn rate is and customer acquisition cost. I'll get to that in a second. So you're adding, right? And so every day when I flip open my Shopify app for Tiege Hanley at this point, right, boom, $40,000, $50,000 of reoccurring revenue. And then we add during the day, and so it grows really quick and big and sexy if you get your churn under control. Now, we knew that we wanted to make custom formulas. As opposed to Pete and Pedro, that started as a private label. Not with Tiege Hanley. We decided to actually build systems and products from scratch. And so one of Rob's buddies, my co-founders, he knew a chemist that he was golfing with, and he basically went to him and said, hey, we want to do this. Can you help us build amazing, incredibly effective product? So we have our formula and we go to our lab. We found a lab actually in Marietta, Georgia. So it was just a weird coincidence. And we went to them, we brought him our formulas. We said, hey, can you make these? And he said, yeah. So he looked at it, and the chemist said that they had at their lab said, you realize that your chemist built you like Ferrari formulas. These things are like next level. And we're like, awesome. And he's like, well, how much are you gonna charge? We're like, well, for the serum, it's gonna be like a $10 ad. He's like, what? And that's the whole thing. When it comes to grooming products, when it comes to skincare specifically, it is a huge racket. Give you an example, our eye cream, right? This eye cream that we have at Tiege Hanley is better in terms of quality and more effective than literally 99.9% of other eye creams on the market for the same amount, half an ounce. We charge $10 for a level 2 system. Okay, back up a little bit. We have 3 different levels. Level 1 comes with your wash, your AM moisturizer, your PM moisture, and your exfoliating scrub. Level 2, the core 4 products, but we added an eye cream for an additional $10. Or level 3, the Mac Daddy, which comes with the eye cream, but also the anti-aging serum to help even skin tones, fight free radical damage, and tighten your sexy ass skin. Right, now, for these 2 products, each additional product was basically like a $10 upcharge. So level 1, when we started, $25. Level 2, $35. Level 3, $45. So for like the top line, amazing skincare, we were charging literally less than most companies charge for a high quality moisturizer. We wanted to offer a crazy premium product for an incredible price. And the beautiful thing is that because we were direct to consumer, we had no middleman. The way that it generally works when it comes to you selling, if you're gonna be selling something or creating a product wholesale to a company that actually ends up selling it, like a drugstore or a gas station or whatever, right? The way that it works, if you make this, right, your cost is $10, you're going to charge for a wholesale, typically multiply that by 2. So I would charge $20 to, say, CVS. CVS would take it, multiply it by another 2. So then they would sell this product for $40. It's basically 100% markup every step along the way when it comes to creating products, selling it wholesale, and then end user. But because we didn't have that middleman, we didn't have to sell it to a wholesaler, right? We could sell direct to the consumer, which meant the consumer was going to get an incredible product for an incredible price. We also knew because it was a subscription, we needed to make it affordable because guys are not like women. Women have been conditioned to use skincare. Guys, it's new. We basically created a 30-day supply, right? But very quickly, we realized that the way that we use the products or the way that we have designed the products to be used, if you follow the system, you're basically going to have like a 30-day supply. But people use the product different. So one of the things that we did early on was how do we figure out how to customize people's delivery schedule? We knew we needed to figure out the cadence a little bit better because when we started, it doesn't matter what you say people should be doing. They're going to use it the way that they're going to use it. And if they have too much product or they run out too soon, a lot of times they're going to churn out, they're going to pause, they're going to cancel or whatever. And so we knew, okay, we got to get it incredibly customizable. From the beginning, when we started, we knew that we needed to create a customizable experience, allowing people to drop products they weren't using, figure out their cadence, order products on demand when they want. The Tiege Hanley that you see today looks wildly different than the way that we set it up 6 years ago. But as you get into business, as you listen to customers, as you learn, you're going to figure different things out. When we launched, the amount of face wash that we were giving people wasn't enough. And so very quickly, we had to change that. Okay, we need to increase the size. It's a learning experience. And for us, it was exciting because the day that we launched Tiege Hanley to the public, we had 1,000 people sign up immediately. How did we do that? Because I decided to start a vlog and talk about the process of starting a business and building a brand. This was one of the best decisions that I've made as an entrepreneur. Being open, being vulnerable, and inviting people into our world. One of the big mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make is that they'll go all like covert and they'll develop their product, and the first time they see the customers, the first time they're trying to sell it. Not Tiege Hanley, right? It was about giving value and inviting them to participate. We would ask our customers, hey, what do you think? Do you like black or do you like white in terms of packaging? Our customers dictated a lot of the way that we actually did things when it came to Tiege Hanley starting out. We had 5,000 people sign up to our email list. All right, I would come on every week, talk a little bit about what we were going through, what we were dealing with, things that I wish I knew when I was starting my business. And I felt like, you know what, this is something different. Other companies aren't being this transparent. Nowadays, it's gotten a lot more like sexy to be like, hey, tell us it, right? We were early days. There also weren't many people talking about skincare because when we started, like I said, this was 6 years ago, the market was much smaller. Now, there are a ton of competitors, there are a ton of copycats, there are a ton of men's grooming brands out there. The truth, though, is that most of them will fail because they did something that Tiege Hanley has not done, and that is they raised money or took funding. And when you do that, the clock starts. And until you figure out how you're going to spend that money in order to acquire customers at a low enough CPA to make it a viable business, and you've got your LTV figured out and your churn under control, there is no way that you can be successful. And a lot of these companies, because back in the day, right, Dollar Shave Club, perfect example. Now, Dollar Shave Club was a unicorn in terms of their growth, their meteoric rise based solely on a viral video. That video of Mike in the factory, right, that basically took their business from here to the moon. They sold their business a few years ago for $1 billion to Unilever. All right, now, was it a good buy for Unilever? Looking back, no, it wasn't. But by the time Mike actually sold his business, he only had, I believe it was 9%. He had raised and raised and raised and raised and raised a ton of money, like bazillions of dollars, in order to fund their growth. Because one of the things is that they were acquiring customers at a very high CPA. Now, few little terminology things we got to talk about. CPA stands for cost per acquisition. Another name for this is CAC, customer acquisition cost. All right, now something else. LTV stands for lifetime value. All right, how long is that customer with you and how much do they spend? And then churn. Churn is how many people in your subscription churn out every month, meaning they leave. So if you sign up 100 people, right, and you've got a 10% churn, you know that at the end of the month, you're only going to have 90 of those original people. 10% have churned out. The whole game when it comes to a subscription business is to get a low enough CAC or customer acquisition cost, a big enough LTV, and a small churn. If you don't understand or figure out any of those three things, there's no way that you can be successful. If your CPA or customer acquisition cost is too high and your LTV is too low and you're not actually ever going to make up the money or the margin that it costs you to acquire a customer, there's no way that you can be successful. One of the companies, there were a lot of the box services, like I believe it was like Blue Apron, right? So their model was flawed. They raised a ton of money, you had a lot of money, and one of the problems with companies that raise a lot of money, they haven't figured out how to actually acquire customers at a low enough CPA and keep them for long enough. They haven't figured out the business yet. With Blue Apron, it was like, I think their LTV was like $200, but it cost them $300 to acquire a customer. The math doesn't work. And if the math doesn't work, you're not going to be successful. Does this make any sense whatsoever? Like I said, I've got so much information, and one of the things that I just want you to understand, I am not the most successful person. I also don't know the most about business, but I have experience that most people don't have. I've done it the way that I did Pete and Pedro. I grew a business from a private label perspective, and then with T. Shanley, literally we started this from scratch, from zero, and in terms of numbers, I can tell you this, all right? Over $20 million this year in revenue, right? That's top line revenue. Now, where does it come from? About 17.5 million is coming from our .com or tees.com, and the rest is coming from Amazon. Now, in terms of my equity, I own a little over 30% of T. Shanley. We own 100% of T. Shanley, which is one of the downsides and where I was getting to with the Dollar Shave Club scenario. All right, we have never raised a penny at T. Shanley, which makes us crazy special. And the reason why we're so special is because in our business, in our industry, getting to 20 million is like, it's literally unheard of to grow this way and to grow profitably and still maintain our profit margin has gone down over the years because of how much we spend in marketing, but we're profitable. And we don't need to go out and raise money. Now, why is this important? Number one is we built a strong business and a foundation that's going to be incredibly valuable to somebody to buy us in 2.5 years. The other reason is because there's no pressure. When you raise a bunch of money, you've basically got new business partners. And then the other reason is that you get diluted. Now, if you can use this money, if there's a way, and this is one of the things I need you to understand, I'm not saying that raising money is bad if you know how you're going to take this money that you got and grow your business exponentially at a relatively good CPA, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people just take money and they think, hey, I got a lot of money, and they just start spending it, wasting it, and they never figure out and get their business model solid. They never truly get their marketing dialed in. And if you don't do this, you literally are just going to waste millions of dollars. One of the things that Kevin O'Leary said to me when we were together, I was telling him a little bit about T. Shanley, and he literally was like blown away when I told him like what we've done. I showed him the numbers. So we did this month. Don't say it.
Fuck. Are you kidding? Really?
I'm not. Yes, that's what we did. That's what. Yeah. But here's the thing.
Wow, this is a real business.
This is a real business. Absolutely. He said, the reason why I don't invest in startups basically that have raised a bunch of money is that they're sloppy. They spend it crazy. They don't actually value the money. And so they're always going to be on this cycle of having to raise more money to keep funding their growth. It literally is like tossing a hot potato, right? You start a business, you raise money. You need more money. You toss it again. All these companies, you're getting diluted, you're getting diluted, you're getting diluted. Hopefully, you raise all this money, they're not profitable. There's no way any of these companies are actually profitable. And when you've got that much debt, you're not profitable. They get this potato and hopefully they sell it to a big company that can then scale them. And if you sell to a strategic partner as opposed to a private equity firm that's just buying you for cash flow, you're going to possibly get a big multiple. And that for T. Shanley is what we're going to get. The fact that we have never raised any money is unheard of, that we've gotten to 20 million. And you know what? We're going to be able to get to 50 million in the next 2.5 years. Now, I keep talking about this 2.5 year mark. The reason is because 2.5 years ago, we changed our business. So I'm not going to get into the weeds in terms of what a QSB actually is, or a qualified small business. Do a Google search. Qualified small business, ask your attorney, ask your accountant, do your research. But Our advisor came to us and was like, you know what, you guys need to convert your equity into a C Corp and do a QSB. There's a program that basically incentivizes companies not to sell your business for 5 years. So the way that it works, we started our business as an LLC. But then what we did, when we found out about this QSB option, because we realized, all right, we're probably not going to be selling this business in a year from now, we got to figure some things out and get the growth trajectory back where it needs to be. If we hold this business for, actually, let me back up. You basically convert your equity or your company from an LLC to a C corporation. When you do this, you actually get a professional valuation of what your company is actually worth. And then basically the way that it works is if you hold your business in this entity, this QSB program, Qualified Small Business, for 5 years and you don't sell it, you get 10 times your value going in, up to $300 million tax-free. Did you hear that? Let me give you a quick example. And once again, I'm not an accountant. You got to do your own research, due diligence, and talk to attorneys and accountants because it was not inexpensive or simple to set up. But the deal is, if you have your business valued, say it's $20 million, you put it into this new entity, the C Corp, you pledge all your equity. All right, so going in, it's $20 million. If you hold it for 5 years, right, you get 10 times your value going in, or $200 million distributed to you when you sell it, and it's tax-free. At 10 times your value going in to you to take out, tax-free. Now, anything above that 10 times your value going in, you have to pay capital gains tax on, of course. And that's the other thing I just want to leave you on. Taxes. You gotta pay them. You make $1 million and you're like, yo, I made $1 million profit. Guess what? You don't get to keep $1 million. You got to pay your taxes. You got to pay federal, and then you got to pay your state taxes. Depending on the type of company you have, it's possibly going to flow through directly to you, or if it's a C Corp, it's different. You're going to get, anyway, okay, anyway, there's so much to talk about. But all that to say, we converted Tiege Hanley into a QSB or a C Corp, a Qualified Small Business. We had our company valued going in, and so we are about 2.5 years into the process. Now, we feel very confident that we will be able to, in 2.5 years, really do some incredible things, and somebody will be very interested in buying us because A, we're profitable, which is unheard of for our size business, and B, we've got a huge customer and client base, and C, we've never raised any money. It's a super clean deal, super clean cap table. There's no secret. There's nothing crazy sexy. It's about doing the things you need to do every single day and looking at the data, knowing what the data says. The data will not lie to you. We lie to ourselves, right? Our bank account sometimes lies to us, but the data, that's the thing that you need to dial in. The other thing you need to understand is that marketing people a lot of times will fudge the numbers in order to make themselves look good, and a lot of the things that you're getting in terms of traffic and sales that are actually like organic, they'll claim is like, no, that's from us. Anyway, marketing is another huge topic that we are going to talk a lot about on the Alpha Empire channel, because that honestly is the #1 most important thing that you need to figure out as a business in order to be successful. It doesn't matter if you got the best products in town. If you don't have a mechanism to tell people and then convert them to a sale at a low enough CPA and keep them for long enough to make money, gentlemen, you're never going to be successful. Do not be tricked by these fake gurus or false prophets that are telling you all you need to do is this, all you need to do is this, or all you need to do is that. No, it's not the case. Basic business fundamentals and foundations work. And you've got to be understanding that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of work, and you breaking rocks and doing the things that aren't fun and aren't sexy. It's not sexy, you know, and it's not easy. It's hard work. But if you're up for it and you're willing to actually do the work and break the rocks that it's going to require, you can be wildly successful. Take it from me. I'm somebody that did it, right? I'm not the smartest guy in any room. I do have a lot of experience now, but I failed more times than I've been successful. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about a business that I'm super proud of. Lots of learnings, lots of things to talk about in terms of Tiege Hanley. If you want the origin story and me to actually post the video that I already filmed about this, it's long-winded, but it tells you kind of like how I met Rob and Kelly, what they did before Tiege Hanley. Hanley because this Tiege Hanley is actually the second version. I was not involved in version 1. It failed quickly. If you want that story, guys, let me know down below. Say, yo, tell us the origin story of Tiege. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I love talking about business, if you can't tell. If you haven't yet, please subscribe because my goal is to help you build your empire. Guys, together, we're going to do some amazing things.